Hello and welcome to Buying into the Future, where we discuss all things public procurement. Today we have something of a special episode. Over this series of podcasts, we've had the pleasure of listening to many members of communities of practice hosted on the Public Buyers platform. This time, we're going to take something of a behind-the-scenes look. Behind the Public Buyers community is a team dedicated to increasing and supporting the COPs within the wider public buyers community. So I'm delighted to have with us today Anita Port, an Innovation Procurement Policy Officer for DG Grow at the European Commission, who is responsible for the Public Buyers platform. So a very, very warm welcome to you, Anita, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you a lot, Steve. I'm very happy to be here in this podcast.
It's very good to have you aboard. So if we could, Anita, I'd like to kind of go back into the past a little bit and look at the beginning of the Public Buyers platform. What was the purpose of setting it up in the first place?
There are many to name, but one important reason is that we kept receiving requests from stakeholders and public procurement experts across Europe. They were calling us and asking us, for example, do you know anybody in Europe who has ever done X or has ever performed Y? And then we were looking to see if we know persons who to connect them to. And then in the end, we did. But in the end, we were receiving a lot of these phone calls. So there were too many to manage. And that is when we started to think about a digital ecosystem in which these peers would be connected more automatically, could easily find each other and exchange on the topics they would like. They could profile themselves and then request what they're interested in. And it would work like a kind of dating site, but then for public procurements across Europe. These groups can also trust on a protected space where members can exchange information that is confidential, such as preparatory documents for procurements or other confidential information.
Thank you very much for that look at the background. In your involvement with the various communities that have joined the platform, what have you learned more from them than you knew in the first place? So what have you learned from them in terms of community needs, etc.? And maybe what have you learned personally from your connection with the platform?
We started with just a handful of communities, 7 if I recall correctly, and today we've grown to 25. Each community is built around a specific EU public procurement topic that benefits from EU collaboration. That collaboration can take many forms. For example, exchanging knowledge, developing shared resources, creating an interactive space where joint actions and solutions can take shape. Our communities can be open or closed. Open communities focus on sharing knowledge and best practices, and they welcome all types of stakeholders to join and to contribute. Closed communities, however, they are reserved for public entities. While sharing outcomes remains a very important objective, so sharing these outcomes to a wider public, in the beginning, we started out with 7, if I recall correctly, and today we've grown to 25 communities. Each community of practice is built around a specific EU public procurement topic that benefits from EU collaboration. That collaboration can take many forms: exchanging knowledge, developing shared resources, or creating an interactive space where joint actions and solutions can take shape. Our communities can be either open or closed. Open communities focus on sharing knowledge and best practices, and they welcome all types of stakeholders to join and to contribute. Closed communities, however, they are reserved for public entities. While sharing outcomes with the general public remains an important objective, these groups also need protected space where members can exchange information that must remain confidential, like preparatory documents for upcoming procurements or other sensitive materials. Now that we have onboarded so many, 25, it's hard to keep up. But one striking experience of members of all communities that I got to learn about is that no matter how their work is taking place in different cultures and regulatory contexts, they can easily find each other on the content. These online communities are designed to support offline meetings and gatherings. And often, when I speak to members, also offline gatherings, they are amazed that they can come from different countries, speak to a peer from another country, maybe 4 hours of a flight away, and still find each other easily on the content because they are faced with exactly the same problem. I personally find such stories amazing. What I've learned is that they are different and very much the same at the same time. And that's amazing to me.
It's absolutely great. So you get all this information coming in. There's a nice kind of exchange of information between the COPs and the Commission. As a result of this exchange of information, etc., have the communities been able in any way, for example, to influence policy?
Well, I think they do, and it should not be underestimated. Maybe it's good if I explain a little bit the way it works. So each community is designed to work towards specific deliverables through concrete actions. That's why we ask every community to develop a roadmap outlining activities they plan to undertake and outputs they aim to deliver to the wider platform. Our policy unit follows these roadmaps closely, and we're interested in seeing how they evolve. And we don't just monitor them. In many cases, we actively support them through service contracts. So, for example, all 10 communities created under the Commission's Big Bias Working Together project receive such support. The Commission reimburses travel costs for staff from public buyers to attend in-person meetings, and the project contractor provides support to the community. And this support also entails to formulate policy recommendations based on the community's work. Another good example is the community of AI procurement. The Commission supported the development of AI procurement classes by reimbursing the services of a specialist law firm. These classes have now been viewed more than 45,000 times by visitors of our platform, showing just how valuable this resource is in practice. Naturally, numbers like this influence our thinking about future policies and help guide us toward what public buyers truly need on the ground.
So if I asked you what you would regard as the greatest success of the platform, what would you say?
Well, that's a nice question. Let me think about it. It's ultimately up to the community to define its own potential and success, to turn it into a thriving ecosystem, a productive space in which all can participate. I like to think of it as by the community for the community. And I certainly believe they truly lived up to that. And I think I'm very proud of that. And I consider that as a huge achievement. When our unit onboarded this journey, my personal goal for this project was to have public procurers across Europe have 10 minutes a week look at this platform to see what's going on at the EU level. Some people were laughing in my face, saying that was far too ambitious and was not achievable. We still have a very long way to go, but I think I can proudly say we're halfway there.
Do you have any statistics to share to show how the platform and the communities have been going?
Yes, sure, Steve. I'm very happy to report that currently we have over 1,800 registered members and 25 active communities of practice. Our monthly newsletter, the Public Procurement Gazette, has more than 4,300 readers. This newsletter is integrated with the platform and informs a general public on what's going on the platform. So I invite all our listeners to subscribe to this newsletter, the Public Procurement Gazette, if they haven't done so.
So obviously there are going to be procurers, public buyers, whatever, who have not joined the platform yet. What would you say to them, to those who have not yet joined the platform? What would they gain by joining?
Well, there is actually a lot to gain, and I will use our platform slogan, which is connect, collaborate, and innovate through our community. Our platform is the EU hub for procurement professionals to up their game by collaborating with like-minded peers to hear expert views and latest news from policymakers. Finally, to stay updated as the European Commission revises the EU public procurement framework, modernizing and simplifying the current rules.
So, okay, you've convinced me. I'm wanting to join. As a procurer, then, how do I join the platform or set up a community there?
That is very simple. You create an EU login, and with that EU login, you create a membership profile on our platform. Once your membership profile is approved, you can browse the communities, you can join communities that you would like to, and receive other information through the general news section and the general resource section on the platform.
And in terms of the future of the platform, what are your hopes for the future there?
Well, we are all seeing it in the news. Europe is in an increasing dynamic political environment. These shifts, Steve, they are affecting global supply chains and creating new uncertainties in the public procurement landscape. And when it comes to public services, there's an added layer of responsibility, the need to ensure that services across Europe remain stable, ethical, and trustworthy. My personal hope for the platform in the near future is that it becomes even a more reliable and trusted space than it already is. A place where members can share their latest developments, connect with others facing similar challenges, and work together to find collective solutions. Ultimately, the goal is to empower public buyers to do what they do best, secure the best possible solutions on the market and improve the life of citizens they serve.
And with that positive message, we are going to end the podcast today. Very great thanks for joining us to Anita and for all the work she and the team have been doing to develop the platform and make it available to public buyers. To the listener, thank you very much for joining us today. Please remember to check out our playlist for any of the podcasts you may have missed. We hope you'll join us there. But until then, we thank you very much for joining us today and say goodbye.